Indiana Jones is one of the most beloved characters in cinematic history. So you'd think if somebody asked the question, do you want another Indiana Jones movie? The answer would be a resounding yes. However, since about 1989, the answer has been, nah, homie. But we got one. Yes, that's right, we got one. And it stunk. It was called Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The less said about it, the better. And we thought, well, I guess that's a way to go away. Please stay away. But nope, we got another one. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. What is there to say about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny that you probably haven't heard already? Everybody's bitching about this thing being one of the worst things ever. It's not looking good for it in the terms of box office, so that's another thing. And we got all kinds of incel rage going on over the Phoebe Waller-Bridge character, Helena Shaw, as she's known in the movie. And it's just looking grim for old Indy in the movie and out. I wasn't particularly excited about another Indy movie because Kingdom of the Crystal Skull happened, and that's a fucking thing, isn't it? So yeah, I was just like, whatever, man. I'm just gonna see it when I see it. But then one of our loyal viewers was like, yo, man, I saw this thing and it's god awful. It's easily worse than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I was laughing throughout. This stinks. So now I just had to see it. I was like, oh man, it's that bad. I can't believe it's gonna be that bad, you know? So I had to go see it, and I did, and we're gonna talk about it, guy. So let me just get this out of the way right here, right now, as the song says. I didn't hate it. In fact, I kind of enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? Now let me make this absolutely clear. This is not touching a friggin' pinky toe on the original trilogy. It's just not. I think everybody just knows inherently that we had a good ending for the Indiana Jones movie. And yes, ideally it would have been cool to see other adventures, but it just took too long, and by the time they made it, well, we got Kingdom of the Crystal Crap, which even Spielberg himself couldn't replicate the magic of those movies. You know, he'd grown out of that period of his life where he could direct that type of movie and it'd feel cool and real and awesome and fun. He's just not that type of director anymore, and he sure as hell isn't that type of director now. So they got somebody else to do it, and that's James Mangold. And James Mangold is a great director, man. Very versatile. I don't think we appreciate the man as much as we should because he can pretty much handle whatever's thrown at him. So Indiana Jones, could he handle that? You would think so. Did he handle that? Yeah, I think for the most part, he did, man. Now, this is not a perfect movie, okay? I don't want you to get that impression. There are things in it. There's some groan-inducing callbacks, you know, like they basically have a duplicate of the Snake Pit sequence where, you know, Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he basically retrieves the item and then the Nazis just take and they're like, thanks, guy. Let me throw you in a pit of snakes. They basically have that shit, only with eels, and you're like, come on, guy. They have kind of like a little callback to the fucking bug sequence in fucking Temple of Doom, you know. And only now I guess he's more afraid of bugs or whatever. They have those little things in there. Sometimes they're fine. Sometimes you're like, come on, man. What is that? It's still... and this was a problem that the previous one had. It has a gross, synthetic look, you know? Unlike the first three movies, this doesn't feel like it's happening in the real place at a real time. The places don't feel real. They don't look real. The backdrops don't look real. They look like a gross CGI map painting that people are living in. The lighting is fucking weird as hell. You know, it's just not a good look. It doesn't feel rustic and gritty or real. God damn it, I can't stress that enough. They just don't look real, okay? But it does look way, 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 way better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So at least I can give it that, you know? There is basically a short round surrogate for, not necessarily for Indiana Jones, but for his godniece, which has kind of taken up a similar mantle as Indiana Jones, but in another way. I'll get to that right now. But she has kind of her own short round, for lack of better words, And there was something about him that I just wanted to punch. I don't really know why, but that's a personal thing, I guess. I'm going to address some of the things that a lot of people have been complaining about, I should say. And that's that after the first intro sequence, it just goes downhill. I will grant people that the intro to this feels like it belongs in an Indiana Jones movie through and through. The only thing still being that obviously there's a lot of CGI being used. And that gross, kind of like heavily graded, weird lighting, you know. But other than that, it feels like, holy shit, we're in the midst of an Indiana Jones adventure. So I could see a lot of people being disappointed that all of a sudden we fast forward to a couple of decades later and Indiana Jones is in the fucking dumps. I could see people being disappointed in that. However, I wasn't disappointed in that. Why? Because that's literally what we were sold on. This is going to be an older Indiana Jones at this point in time. You know, if you're shocked and appalled at that happening, then what the fuck? Although I would say if you can make a, you know, like 10 to 15 minute intro where he's fucking young, why not just make the whole movie an adventure that takes place during his, you know, in between some of the old ones? I don't know. An idea. Maybe it would cost way too much, but you already paid $300 million for this one, so might as well. Indiana Jones is down in the dumps. He's in the midst of a divorce. Mutt is dead, and I know some people are like, oh man, they took everything from Indy. He's fucking depressed, and nobody's listening to him anymore, and fucking he's getting divorced, and Mutt's dead. Are we really gonna cry about Mutt being dead when we cried about Mutt existing? Can we just have that? Mutt is fucking dead, thank God. Anyway, he's in a bad place. And he's on the verge of retirement, and it's looking grim for our hero. However, he is dragged back into the midst by his godniece, who is kind of like the antithesis of Indiana Jones. Now, I've seen a lot of complaints about Phoebe Waller-Bridge as this character, Phoebe Waller-Bridge in general. And we all know that some of those are fed by a particular segment of society that's just like, I don't want to see this type of character in our movies. Let's put that aside and let's just examine this character. Yes, the character is inherently grating and annoying, but she's supposed to be. She's literally the opposite of Indiana Jones. Yes, she's an archaeologist. Yes, she's going on these adventures, but she's doing it for all the wrong reasons. She's the opposite of Indiana Jones, and she has a character growth arc throughout that is fed by Indiana Jones's character and his ethics and his morals. You know, it makes sense. There's a reason why this is happening, and ironically, when she grows into what Indiana Jones espouses about history, that's when Indiana Jones actually needs her the most, because he's at that point kind of given up on the idea of modern society caring about history. So there's a reason why she's grating, you know. There's a reason why she's this character, because she's kind of his foil, but in a different way than Willie Scott or Marion Ravenwood, because they were also romantic interests. There's no romantic interest here, you know. It's somebody that he cares about, but that at the same time, despite him caring about her, she's become everything that he hates, you know. And there's a reason why she does that too, and it's all in there in the script. I had zero problems with it because it was well textured in terms of the story, made sense, and it hit the right notes at the right times for the character of Indy. Some people have claimed that she's stolen the movie from Indy. It's a Helena Shaw fucking movie, and that they're just trying to set up a new series with her. It's very much an Indy movie. I'm sorry. It's like the Flash complaints that some people had. It's not a Flash movie. It's about everybody else but the Flash. No, it's not. It's very much a Flash movie. This is very much an Indiana Jones movie. You know? Yes, she is a character just as much as all the other female foils in the Indiana Jones movies were characters. Do I think they're trying to set up a sequel with her as the lead? If they are, this is not the way to do it, because it doesn't feel like... I mean, maybe that's a good way to do it, because it doesn't feel like they're rubbing it in your face. Mads Mikkelsen is the bad guy here, and he's pretty cool, man. I mean, he plays a good Nazi. He's basically a surrogate for Werner von Braun, you know. This one of the many Nazi scientists that were basically allowed to have normal lives here in the U.S. because they were mined for their innovations. So we have him playing this Nazi that has been given the ability to pull some favors by the government because of what he gave them in terms of scientific innovation. And what he wants to do is use that particular leeway to find Archimedes' dial and use it as a means to basically reboot the Third Reich. You know, so there's a little time travel element in this picture. God knows we've had a lot of that lately here in the movies. The results of this movie kind of play out a lot like Raiders of the Lost Ark in terms of Indiana Jones and the Nazis being, you know, kind of in a race to find things, and sometimes one gets the upper hand over the other, and you know, one takes things from the other, and you know, some people might even notice that much like Raiders of the Lost Ark, things probably would have played out in the favor of history, even if Indiana Jones wasn't in the mix. But you know, I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it. Now there's some, when this character, this Nazi character, is basically being helped along by the government, there's some CIA agents that are helping him do this, right? And they are so woefully unaware of what is obviously a fucking Nazi, you know? I know that, you know, in terms of real history, like, these people were given kind of like a normal life to integrate back into society, right? I realize that. And so is the case here, you know? He's not openly a fucking Nazi, but man, he's so a Nazi that you're like, come on, guy, that's clearly a Nazi. And they have the CIA agent that's a black chick that I feel like, you're a CIA agent. Why are you dressed like fucking Pam Grier in a blaxploitation movie? It's kind of weird, you know? And she's not really cool. That to me felt a little forced. Like, come on, man. During this era, we're going to have a black CIA agent. I'm sure there were a few, but I'm just saying, what are the chances, right? All right, that's fine. But then she's got to dress completely, you know, out of whack with the rest of her agents and just look like she's going to stand out in the crowd no matter what. She doesn't blend in. She's not wearing clothes to blend in with civilians. She literally looks like a Pam Grier character, and not a cool one. So there's, you know, that kind of was a little wonky. Like, just make her look like a CIA agent. Antonio Banderas is a guest in this too, as a captain that, you know, is one of Indiana Jones's many connections out there in the world that he's acquired over the years. I feel like this was kind of like either Antonio really needed a job or it was a shitty stunt cast. Like, do we really need Antonio in this? This guy's a throwaway character, you know? Sala's back, you know, and they kind of tease that he's going to go along in the adventure, but then Indiana Jones like, nah, homie. Too many old Ricky Bones walking around this movie already. Probably for the best. It was nice to see Sala, and there is kind of like a nice end cap to his appearance, you know, but at the end of the day, did we really need that particular part? Nah, homie. That goes more into the department of this movie could have used a little trim here and there. It's kind of long for an Indiana Jones movie. Or maybe it's not, but there are definitely parts where you're like, you could have trimmed that. I don't hate that it's there, but you could have trimmed that. You know what I'm saying? Some people have said that the last act of this, it really gets bonkers and loses them. I guess it's the wildest thing. It's the thing that's gonna, you know, if you're gonna get lost on something, that's probably the one, you know, and that's tied into the whole time travel element and all that jazz. I bet you if it went to a certain different time, people would have been like, whoa, that's cool because he got to punch fucking a Nazi or something. But it doesn't go to that time. Spoiler. So, I don't know, man. These are Indiana Jones movies. We've seen wild fucking shit happen before. I think this wasn't as wild as people are saying that it is. You know, definitely not fucking Kingdom of the Crystal Skull garbage, so there's that. I felt the need to just say, why is everybody hating this? You know? It's it's an enjoyable movie, man. It's an enjoyable movie. Very fun, breezy. For its running time, it didn't feel long. I know I said that it has a few scenes where you're like, you could have cut that. But that's more just in terms of like, did we really need the Sala scene? Not really. It's a fan service. This to me feels like a much better ending to an Indiana Jones movie than the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull kind of schmaltzy ending. It just feels a lot more personal. You know, it feels like Indy has recouped his vigor for life at it, but at the end of it, but more so he's regained that which motivates him. You know, is the way I'll say it. And so I don't know. That feels a lot more substantial to me than this, little weird wedding thing. And oh look, mutt, and then oh let me have that hat. Like okay, whatever. Yeah, it was a breezy, fun time. I felt there was some good character arcs here and there. There are a few silly moments, some of which I mentioned, some of which I haven't. Oh, that fucking kid, man. That kid. He is punchable. He is punchable, and he does have the one scene that I think is a little, like, much. You'll know when you see it. You'll know when you see it, and it's like, come on. I really have no reason to hate this movie. I feel much more comfortable with this movie being the final Indiana Jones movie than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And I'll say this. Unlike Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I feel like I'll rewatch this one. Crystal Skull, the only times I've rewatched it is for irony's sake. Like, man, this is a thing we have, isn't it? Now, if Raiders of the Lost Ark has, like a 9.5 out of 10, let's say, and Temple of Doom, my favorite, I'll admit, of course, that Raiders is a better movie, but shit, Temple of Doom is just so fucking badass, man. I'll give it a 9.52. Love it. Last Crusade, I'll give like a little 9, That's no slouch. I think that's a great fucking series right there. And I still think that that's the series that everyone should think as the series. And if you never want to watch anything beyond that, I understand. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, man, I gotta give a solid fucking 2 to. That fucking stunk. I hate it. There's a lot of garbage in there. Some elements that are like fine, that could have been cool. But I don't know, man. It's a thing, But this one I'll give, again, relative to these other ones and the way I've scored them, I will give it like a 7. Just on enjoyment alone, May go up, may go down on second viewing, but I'm telling you, man, I don't know, man. I don't have any hate for it. I enjoyed it. I had fun. I watched this when I was tired as fuck, too. I was so fucking tired, man. But it perked me up. And I stayed awake the whole time. Didn't want to snooze. Didn't want to break during it and take a nap. Nothing. So there you go, man. That's my thoughts on this old boy, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Let me know what you think. All opinions are valid, of course. I'm out.